Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, with spring practice wrapping up for Michigan, with us getting our hands on the TV copy of the Michigan spring game and probably having watched that spring game more times than we should be watching it, wanted to get a little bit more into the discussion of what we saw during the spring game and really what we heard coming out of Michigan spring practice. And Dill, let's get into some hidden gems. I feel like, and rightfully so, a lot of our conversation about this Michigan team, Bryce Underwood, the new offense, Chip Lindsey, haven't really highlighted a ton of other storylines within this Michigan team. There's a lot of storylines to talk about. And I think one of the more intriguing takeaways that we both as Michigan fans had coming out of that spring game was number one, not nearly as bad as I think some of the reports made it out to be in the spring game, specifically from the offensive side of football. But Dill, number two, there's a lot of player development that's going on with some of these younger cats on this Michigan roster. And there are some names that, we've been talking about it all spring. Like in 2024, it felt like there were a few guys on this Michigan roster that maybe weren't quite ready and were kind of thrusted into the duty, having lost all the NFL draft picks we lost in 2023. God, it feels like so many of these names are ready to rock and roll going into 2025. And you kind of saw that during the spring game. Really excited to get into this conversation. And look, to the Michigan fans who are watching us break down the spring game for a second time now, like y'all probably live and breathe this program like us. And I'm sure that y'all got some names that really stood out to you as well. Man, let it fly in the comment section. We can't thank you guys enough for rocking with it. Dill, I think I speak for you as well. Has there been a more fun last 6 months to talk this program and not maybe outside the national championship year? Like, not really. We've had a blast, and the amount of support y'all have shown has meant the world. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dill, let's start off with a guy that this is the reason Michigan waited to televise the spring game until after that transfer portal window closed, because Cole Sullivan would have been getting a lot of calls from a lot of different programs. Linebacker 3 on this Michigan defense. This is back-to-back springs where we've seen this kid just be a difference maker. He's going to get on the football field. Not sure how much, not sure what it's going to look like. I think both of our takeaways coming out of the spring game is this kid is too good not to utilize in 2025.
And you saw the athleticism as a freshman in that spring game, and that
Yes,
certainly excited everyone. You also saw he didn't really look like a Division One linebacker. He didn't
agreed.
have that size. It didn't feel like he packed that same punch when he was tackling guys. I think today you saw him get, or Saturday, I should say, you saw him getting behind the line of scrimmage, but you saw him being a little bit more sure tackling, and that's what it looked like. Again, he looked bigger physically. He looked better. And when you talk about development, Cole Sullivan, yeah, you had the raw ingredients for sure, but he certainly looks like he's a guy who, yeah, he's probably going to play a ton, I would
This
think.
is the type of linebacker that I think Michigan is starting to really value now. Like, hey, we'll take an undersized, juiced up linebacker. We'll put the weight on the kid the right way, but give us the raw ingredients. Like, give us the linebackers that can fly around the football field. We'll get them physically ready. And that's Cole Sullivan was kind of a beanpole as an early freshman 12 months ago. You said it best. Like, looks like a Big Ten linebacker, not only physically, though. Like, the thing that stood out to me is like this kid was always around the football. You go back 12 months ago and you saw the flashes. You watched the spring game and say, always fitting the run the right way, picking through traffic, really diagnosing what's happening in front of him. Dill, why is this such a big emergence for this Michigan defense? Is I think you can kind of for lack of better terms, like let the leash off of Jayshon Barham a little bit. Like, you want to get a little bit more creative with how you want to use Jayshon Barham. And we've heard all the buzz around, him coming off the edge a little bit. Well, you need another linebacker to step up so you can move Jayshon Barham around. I think it was very clear that Cole Sullivan's going to be that guy.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt about it. And that is exciting because Jay Sean Barham, you saw, especially at Maryland, when they did line him up in some other spots, he is so versatile. He's so athletic. I mean, Jay Sean Barham doing a little bit more for this Michigan team, I think should excite a lot of
Only,
Michigan.
only makes our defense better. David Peliple. And Dill, I'll put my hand up. I'm going to let you have the tee box. I know this was the guy you wanted to talk about the most, and I'll just put my hand up and say I missed it on him. And Dill, like him when he committed to Michigan, I was like, we'll see. Like, I wasn't necessarily sold. he was I mean, what I was most impressed with was the athleticism. Like, we knew he had the size. We knew he could probably do a little two gap and play that nose and do it well. Dill getting off blocks, running the line of scrimmage, being around the football. That's what stood out to me the most about this kid, who's really only going into year 2 of his Michigan career here.
And not super long. That was probably another thing. And another not super long player in Mason Graham obviously figured it out. But again, that's maybe not the exact profile you look for. But the defensive lineman, with the way he was getting his hands on guys, was really impressive to me. He was like shooting them out there. He was shedding blocks. And that was the big thing because, again, it's good to be able to be big and eat up blocks. But I think that's like bare minimum in a sense for defensive linemen. I think when you see him being able to stack blocks, shed them, and make a lot of plays, that for that size, and maybe again being a little bit further along than I think a lot of us would have thought, I very encouraging, especially because the defensive tackle recruiting for the last couple of years, maybe from a pure star standpoint, wasn't exactly eye catching. But David Peliple was playing really well in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to the development of Michigan. Like, it don't matter who you bring in. Like, they're getting developed at a pretty dang high level. Like, we saw Trey Pierce and Etta come on late last year. And David Pele sounds like a guy that. And Dill, while we're talking interior, one thing about David, Dill, like, really good athlete for that size. You kind of feel like that kind of body type, you're not going to see him get off the blocks and run the line of scrimmage the way he did. Like, that was there too. I like where the interior defensive line is trending. Like, Trey Williams and Devon Payne, we know what we have there. We know what we have with Rayshon Benny, Trey Pierce. I thought Ike was really good. Now, he's not necessarily a young cat that's still developing, but it seems like we're going to see the best version of him in the 2025 year as well. Tevis Metcalf, and I'll put my hand up like some wrong evals here. When Tevis Metcalf and his brother TJ committed, I was like, all right, TJ, I think, could be a plug and play starter in the back end. Like, he started every single game for Arkansas last year. We both liked him a lot. And Tevis, there was, 3-star prospect coming out, redshirted at Arkansas last year. Like, I kind of raised my hand and said, I thought he was going to be like a depth piece this year. No. Like, I think there's a very good chance he's your starting nickel corner. Like, it sounds like Zeke Berry wants to stay out on the boundary. We're looking for who's going to play that nickel. And I know they're cross-training a lot of different kind of bodies and a lot of different kind of players. Tevis Metcalf made a strong pitch to get on the football field in the secondary for Michigan in 2025.
In being that true nickel, because that was, especially when Zeke Berry was out playing cornerback last year, you didn't really feel like you had that entirely. Tevis Metcalf, again, from the body type, a little bit bigger, not big, like not tall, but like good, thick player, able to play in the run pretty effectively, but also that ability to just stick with guys in man coverage. That was something it didn't always feel like Michigan had from the nickel spot last year. I think it allows Michigan to play a little bit, just play more different types of defenses. Like last year was really zone heavy because I don't know that they had the nickel to play that way and play man and have a guy who would play that way. So I look Tevis Metcalf in terms of like having that true nickel now and feeling really good about where you're at with that and not making Zeke Berry come back in. I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah, we'll see. And I think Michigan's intentionally cross-training a lot of guys there. Because I think what Michigan's trying to do, what Lamar Morgan's trying to do is, hey, we want to teach these guys to play a bunch of different positions. So when we get kind of midway through fall camp, everybody knows how to play a lot of different positions. And now, we get the benefit of, hey, who are the 5 best players? Those are who are going out and playing for Michigan. Before spring started, I did not anticipate Tevis Metcalf being in that conversation. He is certainly in the conversation from what we saw after that spring game. Still kind of low-hanging fruit here, but you got to talk about it. Dominick Nichols. Oh, look, Derek Moore and TJ Guy, and Derek Moore is going to be so good. Like, I think is one of the most slept-on players in all of college football going into 2025. But going back to, all right, that Michigan defense in 2023 that we were just talking about, like one of the better defense. Maybe there's a little maize and blue sunglasses on for us, but still, that defense was elite. Like one of the better defenses we've seen in all of college football. Okay, now what made that Michigan defense so special? Like, I am so confident that it had to do with the depth, especially along the lines of scrimmage. I mean, you talk about Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore, but then also Jalen Harrell and Braden McGregor. Those are 4 NFL guys that they were just rotating at the edge spots. Dominick Nichols, he's not going to start because Derek Moore and TJ Guy are going to be your starters. there's some real upside, and that's what fires me up. Sorry, I'm going a little long, but he's long, he's twitchy, he has developed some pass rush moves that he can go win with until he's only getting better going into 2025 after his redshirt year in 2024.
And Wink said it. I mean, I think do I think the defensive tackle spot's going to be as good as it was last year for Michigan? No. And Wink said, like, again, that's not really feasible. Like, when are you going
Yeah,
to have
agreed.
two guys who are top 10 talents almost? Kenny Grant, obviously, just outside. You're not always. But again, you look what made Michigan great, and it was combining depth, but also having that high end ability. This edge group I look at could have some real high end ability. And
Yeah.
when you factor in the linebacker room too, which might have two day one, day two picks with Hausman and Barham, and maybe even Cole Sullivan at some point. I think again, Wink said that's what's going to kind of lead this team. We're going to build this defense around.
Yeah.
You need a bunch of those guys, and you need your two deeps to be able to be really good players. And Dominick Nichols, what we saw yesterday was he'll be a really good player, I think, in Michigan.
I'll also throw out Lugard and Adekopaye. And Ado Kapaye. You got to write the second try.
No, I'm just very exciting to see him as far along as he is, because it felt like it was going to be a couple of years out.
Yes, I agree. And I don't know how much you'll play this year because you probably want to see a little bit more against the run. And that's one of the things that Dom Nichols has going for him. Like, that dude's a hammer against the run. But as like a pass rush specialist, like, hey, Dom Nichols and Derek Moore and TJ Guy, like they're all very well, especially Derek Moore and Dom Nichols, like very good against the run. Lugard probably not going to play a ton on first and second down, but I can see maybe you trying to get that kid on the football field in some of those third and long spots because he can pin his ears back and get after the passer in a big way. I'll throw out one name that I really liked, and I'm going to go with Jake Winera. I'll ask you here, Greg Crippen, like, do you think Jake Winera can push for Greg Crippen's spot in 2025?
It wouldn't surprise me if that's a battle. And I don't think because, again, Greg Crippen didn't do anything necessarily yesterday that would have made me think he was a problem or anything.
Agreed with that.
Jake Winera, you're right. And they talk about another guy who's physically transformed himself. I mean, looked really good, looked strong, looked more physically imposing. I think that's a job that can certainly be pushed for because Jake Winera,
regardless if he starts or not in 2025, and it'll probably be difficult to unseat a guy that's going to be in his fifth year of the program, he's going to be good. And I think there's maybe a little bit more like overwhelming physicality that I'd like to see in his game. And some of those inside zone schemes where he's like working up the backers off a double team, he's such a good athlete and he climbs to the second level tremendously quickly. And really good in pass pro, like really good feet, really good athlete. We'll see, but that's back-to-back spring games. Like he flashed the boys in 2024 as an early enrollee kid that should have still been in high school. Body looks better. Really good football player. Let's get into one more offensive lineman that you shouted out, Nate Phobe. Probably lock down that other starting guard spot going into 2025.
Yeah, I thought he was as advertised, and he's another one that we've kind of been hearing all spring about. So you just kind of wanted to confirm it. But again, another guy who's totally transformed, like came into this program on the smaller side for sure, looked really, really good. I thought, again, just his steadiness in the pass protection game, because that was a problem last year, I felt like, with a lot of guys, just like getting beat in one-on-one matchups in the past. I thought he looked really good against some really good defensive tackles. You still saw him moving guys, and that was something that kind of popped for him and Winera, I thought, as true freshmen, like their ability to move guys off line of scrimmage. Felt like Phobe is still doing that, but it looked like his pass protection has come a long way, and that's probably what's going to allow him to start this year for Michigan if he happens to.
Now, last one we'll talk about, Native Usubotang.
Like it.
Flies around the field, man. Like exactly what Michigan thought they were getting with this kid. You know, Nakobe Dean kind of body, like a little bit shorter. Not necessarily like as thick as Nakobe Dean. Rocked up, though. Like this dude is about he looks like an action figure. Probably it'll be tough for him to get on the football field year one just because of how good we are at linebacker. Bright future with him, man, because the speed, and that's where Michigan has gone. Like you ask me, what's been the biggest difference with Michigan on defense and has really allowed them to take that next step? You probably first point to like what we've done on the defensive line, just like pumping out legitimate high-end NFL draft picks. That's probably where it starts. the transition that we've gone through with these linebackers, and I talked about it a little bit to start with Cole Sullivan, like Nate Owusu-Boateng, I think kind of is that another good example where, look, when you want to beat a team like Ohio State, you have to have linebackers that can cover a lot of ground. Because back when we didn't have those kind of guys, Ohio State was just picking us apart with speed and space. We just did not have line. I mean, like not a shot at guys like Ben Gideon, but just like we didn't have guys that could fly around the football field and make plays in space. Michigan has made that transition in terms of the kind of bodies Michigan has recruited at linebacker. A little bit smaller, but big time athletic profiles in terms of speed and space. And I think it's taken this Michigan defense up to kind of another level, and Nate Owusu-Boateng is one of those guys.
And again, I think he missed that tackle behind the line of scrimmage. Like he got there, you saw the athleticism, you saw him firing in. Like again, similar things that you saw from Cole Sullivan last year. Certainly needs to get bigger, certainly needs to get stronger. Again, just a guy who probably is a year away from a physical standpoint. And just the fact that I think Michigan's loaded at linebacker because like you could throw in a guy like Jimmy Rolder. I still think Jaden Hood's a really good player, and I love that he's stuck around Michigan for a while.
Shout out.
Will never be a guy who gets a ton of shine. Will never be the guy from Michigan, but a really good player. So it's just a deep position group. So I don't expect Owusu-Boateng to play a ton, but you said it, like the athleticism. I mean, you like seeing him be able to make that tackle in space on that play.
Go back to him at IMG Academy. Like his ability to close the distance between himself and the football is nuts. Not to be negative to like round out the episode here. My only question here is like, how much weight can that frame hold? Because it's a little bit narrow. Like when we were talking about Cole Sullivan 12 months ago, it's like, yeah, he could blow up real quick. Like that's a big, long, broad frame that you can fill out awfully quickly. I just have a question with like how much weight you can put on it because it's a little bit more of a narrow frame. But he's never going to be the biggest linebacker, and that's okay because he makes up for it with the juice that he has in terms of the speed. We'll close it out there, Dill. I feel like we probably should have talked about some more football players, but we didn't want to go 30 minutes. The boys could easily push 45 minutes here, but we didn't. I mean, then it gets into the like talking back and forth, and we want to spare the people that. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. To the Michigan fans, y'all let it fly in the comment section. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.